Now, I think this one might be my hottest take out of all the reviews I've done so far because I am an Alien Covenant apologist. I enjoy the movie and I know a lot of people hate it. And I'm going to have to try and plead my defense as best as possible. I'm not sure if I can convince everyone about this, but I'm going to give it a shot because I think Alien Covenant is a great movie. I think it's one of the most underrated in the franchise, actually. So, Alien Covenant is a story of a colony ship called the Covenant traveling to a new world to essentially colonize. And on the way, they discover another planet that has literally everything they need to survive, and it's a lot closer. And apparently, they have some humans there already because they've picked up a signal, which is the character Elizabeth Shaw singing a John Denver song, Country Road Take Me Home. So they thought, why not just go there? It's a lot closer. And when they do, things aren't quite what they were expecting. Now, I think this movie is probably one of Michael Fassbender's best performances because he plays two characters. He plays the original android David from Prometheus, but also the newer model Walter. And I genuinely loved the theming of this movie, which essentially is based around the idea of Paradise Lost and this sort of religious imagery about, creator and creation and the whole idea of, God creating man, man creating life, which, who is a superior in that equation? We have that very quick scene with Peter Wayland and his creation David when they first converse, and how quickly David realizes that he is superior to his creator. And I really love the whole theming of it. Now, a lot of people were let down by the fact that they killed off Elizabeth Shaw off screen. The entire paradise world of the engineers was destroyed as well in an instant. A lot of people get this wrong. That planet was not the engineers' homeworld, actually. That planet that the ship went to was actually a seed world where the engineers created another race, similar to how they created humanity at the start of Prometheus. So this is another race that the engineers have sort of created and looked after that David just wiped out. I guess this was more of a utopia situation. What the movies are trying to say, if you look at them combined, is that the engineers have been going around seeding planets with life and cultivating them. And if you watch the deleted scene of Prometheus, you'd know this as well, because it shows the engineer responding to David. The engineers think humanity are a mistake because the amount of wars and violence that they have been capable of. And that's why they were on the way to Earth to wipe us all out, because we done fucked up. Whereas this planet seems to be a paradise planet with a utopia society that David decides to just wipe out and then turn into his own mad scientist lab. And I love the sort of dichotomy between David and Walter. There are very subtle moments, like when David is mentioning how he's superior to his creator because he's not as flawed as they are, and then not acknowledging the fact that he is flawed because he makes a mistake when he attributes a poem to the wrong poet, and Walter corrects him. And you see that David has the same hubris that Peter Wayland had in not acknowledging the mistake at all, just continuing on with it. And it's one of the reasons why he's my favorite character in the entire series, because he is very complexly written. I think it's because he has had two movies more or less just focused around him, so he has had the most time to develop as a villain. So it is a little unfair to say that he is the best villain in his franchise so far because he's had the most screen time. But I can genuinely appreciate the themes at play and what Ridley Scott was aiming for with the character. I think he achieves it quite well. Now, one of the problems a lot of people have with this movie, and I'm pretty sure it was something that was rewritten into the movie, probably even reshot towards the end of production as well, was the introduction of the protomorph because they wanted to make sure it ties in with the Alien franchise and you can have the Alien name in the title, and probably just to please the fans. Because a lot of people feel that scene at the end was kind of unnecessary and they didn't need to shoehorn in a xenomorph, or in this case, a protomorph as it's called. And I personally enjoyed seeing the protomorph. I thought it was a great creature. Like, it was a lot more violent and aggressive than what we're used to seeing in the xenomorphs. And I thought the whole sequence towards the end worked really well because it gave Daniels a chance to step up into the Ellen Ripley protagonist role. And she had a fantastic moment when they took it out. And for once, I'm glad we got to see a xenomorph killed in a way that wasn't just blowing it out of the airlock, which is Ellen Ripley's final smash, I guess, with how much she uses that technique over and over again. I mean, they still do it later on in the movie, but I thought the whole crushing it with the crane thing was fucking great. But my favorite thing about Covenant, why it's one of my favorites, is the fact that it has one of the most dark endings in the entire series. Like, no other movie has quite a dark ending. And a lot of people criticize the David Walter switch because they think it's too obvious, but that was the point. It was meant to be obvious because, and Ridley Scott even mentioned this in the director's commentary, I believe, or also in an interview, that we're meant to be suspicious of David replacing Walter, so we're paying extra attention to the subtleties in his performance. And it works incredibly well. Like I said, Michael Fassbender gave an amazing performance because if you look at the subtle movements he does when he's David pretending to be Walter, like they can be interpreted in a number of ways. It could be David, it could be Walter. But that final shot at the end where he's putting Daniels into cryo sleep and reveals that he is David is such a sinister ending, and I love it. I mean, we may never find out what happens to the colonist on the Covenant because we never got a third movie. I mean, if we're lucky, we might see like a throwaway like line in a video game or a novel somewhere, or someone makes a reference to a lost colony ship. But I don't think this movie deserves the amount of hate it gets because it is one of my favorites, and I am forever going to be an Alien Covenant defender because there's so many things going for it. I get people think the characters are stupid, especially the scene where they're slipping over their own blood multiple times. But these are everyday people. These aren't trained scientists or specialists like they were in Prometheus. These are just everyday couples who would naturally panic in that sort of situation. And again, you have to remember, these people don't know they're in a horror movie. So of course they're going to make minor mistakes, like taking off their helmet, because they don't know they're going to be killed. And speaking of, when people are killed in this movie, holy shit is it graphic. Like, this is a rated R movie, and I think it has some of the most graphic moments in the entire series. The Bloodburster was so fucking cool, especially when it rips its way out of that back. And I don't hate the design of the Neomorph either. I thought that scenes with the Neomorph, especially the scene where the juvenile Neomorph is picking them off one by one in that wheat field, fucking great. Genuinely great moments of horror there and then. And I think this movie gets an unfair amount of hate because there's so many good moments like that. They just get completely overlooked because people want to essentially hate on something that is popular to hate on, I guess. And I think the argument is a little reductive to do that with because this movie has so much going for it. To simply write it off because people just can't stand one or two aspects of it, it's just too reductive for me. I can't do that. I enjoy this movie. I enjoy rewatching this movie. There are some amazing shots, like that one long take with David and Walter and the flute scene, which was shot incredibly well because it's just one long take. I think this movie mostly is just Ridley Scott sort of flexing some of his muscles as a director, and I can appreciate that because the dude is a very good director. But that's just me being a Alien Covenant apologist for however many minutes. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you like this movie, if you hate it, drop it all down below. And while you're down there, maybe like and subscribe. I'm still reviewing the rest of the series. My next review is going to be Alien Romulus, so please do subscribe. Make sure you don't miss that one. I do live stream to this channel as well. If you want to chat with me directly, feel free to hit me up whenever I'm live. And check out some of my other videos. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Sayonara.